What is going on, explorers? Today, we've got a special guest in the building. But before I even get into that, let me go ahead and play the intro music.
Oh, say this. Let me hear this.
What is up, explorers? Before this episode begins, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you check the link in the description below. Take you directly to our Patreon if you would like to support. You could support us for the low cost of a caramel ice cap from Tim Hortons. That's it. So if you'd like to support, make sure you go ahead, go to the Patreon link in the description below, and enjoy the episode. Peace.
Perhaps your skills do extend a bit farther than basketball.
As I was saying, my name is Dante. We are 𝓁_Dante, and today, special guest in the building. Who do we have here today?
Hi, Dante.
Hi.
It's
You could go ahead and talk into the microphone.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I'm sorry. Dante doesn't have stands for me. I'll use my hands. But I'm Rianna.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me, Dante.
Thank you for finally being here.
Oh,
on
here
the
we go.
podcast.
He's going to air me out.
No, what? I mean, we've just been
Busy. You've been busy.
We've both been busy.
Oh, okay.
But now we've finally, the universe has aligned for this one particular moment for
I
us
like that.
to have this great conversation. So why don't you tell the people, the explorers out there, a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, you know.
A little about myself. Dante, that's a loaded question.
In the specific industry. You don't gotta go that deep, okay?
I was like, are we doing some trauma bonding?
No,
right
no,
now?
no.
Who am I in cannabis? I work in legal weed.
Okay.
Pretty much started in cannabis maybe 2.5 going on, maybe 3+ years now. I started in cultivation via a program.
Okay.
Actually out in Hamilton, Career Foundation. They have a little
Wait, a cultivation program.
yeah, through the government. So Career Foundation is a government funded like employment
Okay.
company, a non-for-profit. They started a program for cultivation technicians and trim harvesters. Do
Mhm.
a free program, and pretty much from there, you land a role, like a job. I got a job out in Dunnville. Again, this was all after COVID, so I was
Okay.
just kind of finding a new career.
Yeah.
But either way, started working weed, growing ganja.
Yeah. What was that like? Like,
Oh my God.
what was it like when you first go into that cultivation room? Was it like, oh, or was it like,
Was it
geez, like, what was it like?
It was like entering jail, and not to say I know jail, but like there were these like, it's very high security. So like
Makes sense.
you come in, it's like these chain grid locks, this tin of a building. So I was like in Dunnville, like I don't know if people Dunnville. Dunnville is like a small town. Like where I was staying after COVID was Port Colborne. I don't even know if you know where that is either.
Yeah.
Either way, small town.
Yeah.
So I was just very scared of just who I was gonna come across and kind of what I would expect, culture shock, you
Yeah.
know. But I went in there. It's a small grow, so
Okay.
it's very hands-on. I got to kind of play around, meet a lot of great people, kind of
Yeah.
got that behind the scenes, kind of see the product before I now sell the product in
Yeah.
a sense.
So from your cultivation background, you then went into retail.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about legal cannabis retail and what it's actually like, because I like just dip my toes into legal cannabis. Like
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit more than the average person. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, this is why you're here. Like, let's talk about these things. Like, what is legal cannabis retail like? Like, who goes there? Who shops? What do you do? What questions?
I think it's honestly just approach it no differently than anything you indulge in recreationally.
Okay.
I think the main difference with cannabis for a lot of people who may consume but don't shop legally is like it is a very deep rooted experience where I think unfortunately it's been stigmatized. It's very layered and nuanced in terms of how you let's say, digest it, so to say, or your endocannabinoid system, like how you react really to cannabis is very specific and individual. So within that, I think like why legal cannabis has gotten hard for people to kind of dive into is because we're very, I think, all headstrong on like what we know and what we are comfortable with, because you don't want to explore sometimes into this new realm of legal weed, these new options. You can't see what you're buying, you can't really touch, or you know, and then there's the whole background of how it's being grown, the whole ethos of these certain companies that are growing. It's very now nuanced because legal weed comes with government regulations, comes with money, comes with everything. But so I kind of say anyone approaching legal cannabis is go into the store. Even if you don't buy something, talk to like the person serving you, because more times than not, like compared to me, I do drink. I love my wine.
Yes.
I come from hospitality, so you know that.
Yeah.
But even like when I would go to LCBO, oftentimes or not, I know my bottles that I want, and then I do my independent shopping. Granted, the setup with the LCBO, like you check out, you do have sometimes someone you can ask there, but at least with weed stores, like you literally legal weed stores, you would pretty much walk in. It's age gated, so obviously it's a bit harder just to do your shopping. But once you're in there, you're really front facing with someone who can help you. Knows the catalog more oftentimes than not. Is really more in depth with understanding kind of all this legalese, I like to call it, the jargon of the brands, what you should look for, kind of understanding more of your shopping experience. Because again, it's a new industry, so I think it's still very nuanced.
Yeah. So for that instance, like say it's your first time and you don't know anything about cannabis, right? And you walk into like your first whatever dispensary, maybe it's a mom and pop one or maybe it's a chain one, but like what is some like legalese question that someone that doesn't know anything about cannabis would even want to ask? Like, what would they go in and ask for? You know what I mean? Like some people will be like, oh, well, I want to smoke but not get high, or like I only want to do topicals. You know what I mean? Like,
I say if you're like, at least how I sometimes approach it, coming from when I was in retail, like serving people, and then obviously now I'm thinking of like now be more consumer and on the sales side of stuff. Lean more with like flavors. Like what do you enjoy palate wise, taste wise too? Even like a lot of people put me on, like especially as I started smoking more aggressively, as I got older, and especially in legal weed, just trust your nose. Like if you receive what your nose is saying, you good or bad, then I feel like that's kind of your MO for your experience. So when I go in, like, or at least anyone who is looking to go in and you are experienced, maybe kind of play up on what you like of this weed you're already smoking, if it be non-legal.
okay.
And then if you're like trying to explore again, because there's different ways you can explore weed, even if you hear those cushy aromas, the cakey, the pine soles, like those are better attributes than sometimes even going in and asking for a sativa hybrid. Indica.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I sometimes find it plays a bit more accurately in your experience.
Okay.
If you don't, especially legally, if we can't quantify exactly what something is sativa or what is indica.
So you, and how come it's hard to quantify what is actually a sativa indica? Because
again, I'm not a weed guru, but
okay.
I can give my weed for dummies, legal weed for dummies.
Yeah, legal weed for dummies. Yes, I'm not an expert.
I'm not an expert, but
I just smoke it.
Literally, and I've worked in it, like right. So it's, at least for me, and see, repeat that question.
So like you're saying, it's hard to tell the difference or between the indicas and the sativas.
Okay, so why usually? Yes, truly. Everything is relatively a hybrid. One is like almost think more leaning to one side or the other in terms of how maybe uplifting it can be to how maybe sedating it can be. But it's generally, let's always be under the assumption of hybrids.
Okay.
At least to what I've gathered from my research, my peers in the industry. But again, there are very much solid things that attribute to, again, that classic sativa high. Or that classic indica high. But I again have noticed like your experience with cannabis when you smoke it, when you ingest it, whatever it be, is so nuanced. It will never matter. Like that's why
that is like, very true.
It's so hard to just pinpoint. Granted, I think there's trends, there's things that resonates amongst the crowd naturally, but
Yep.
it's always going to be so varied, and sometimes even your palate, then of course to then how you react to it.
Yeah.
So find your journey, go into a store,
Yeah.
kind of interact with the talk, and like I always hope like the person behind the counter serving you is that person willing to kind of engage in the conversation.
Yeah. Befriend your local bud tender. They're
The
cool people.
local ones, the
Yeah.
independent ones, you know, I think all bud tenders, independent, corporate or not, like are valuable. It's just really making sure that dialogue we maintain and kind of help educate now consumers, because we want to be like, when I shop, I'm always trying to like kind of navigate what more I can learn from my surroundings, and I just hope that we can maintain that with our consumers too.
Yeah.
So
And one thing that I've guess learned or come to know about is also the back and forth relationship that the bud tenders actually have with the customers, right? Because one of the things that I didn't even think about is, okay, well, you take a product home, you try it, and then you bring it back to the bud tender and you say what you like and didn't like. You know what I mean? And that also feeds back into the pool of knowledge that the bud tenders can then, you know, share with other bud tenders or other customers or whoever it may be, which I think is actually an important part of the, you know, whole system. You know, like, tell the bud tenders what you liked and what you didn't like, because I mean, don't just keep it to yourself, right?
like you can't buy everything. Like I was
true.
like working in store like literally where you're pushing product, like you're high velocity, lots of product. People also have to understand, like when I say people, like us shopping, like there's so, if you're not working in retail cannabis, much less on the brand side of cannabis, or you're just not really tapped into legal cannabis culture in general as a consumer, like we have to understand how much new shit's coming onto the market.
Yeah.
So your bud tender manager, whoever's serving you, may not have tried that new thing.
Yeah.
So that does, I've always found, really does utilize and help navigating kind of tasting notes, just maybe what the trend of experience has been amongst people who've bought it and without even me having to try it.
Yeah.
And that also sometimes leads me into wanting to try something more, because I'm like, okay, I've been a little hesitant, but I had 4 or 3 people already, you know, come back to back sort of thing, or it seems like it's moving quite aggressively. But again, it's that dialogue, conversation, talk, be patient too. Understanding a lot of people are much less trying flower to trying health and wellness products to then trying edibles and drinks. Like it's a very nuanced experience where we all have to kind of understand, the more we share, the more we kind of listen and learn from each other, I think the easier this industry is going to hopefully be.
Yeah. What are some of the trends you've noticed in retail from when you started in retail to kind of where you are now on the, I don't even know what side of retail you're on now, but like you work, it's retail, but it's not like,
It's like working with a brand to working in retail. It's like,
can you talk about that as well, or
what? Working with the brand?
Yeah, that specific position at all, or?
I could. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want
want.
do you want to explain that, and then we could talk about the trends and stuff
So
as well?
I work with the 𝓟 plug. This guy. He wanted me to cue him up. That's why. I work with the 𝓟 plug. And yes, we're based out in Scarborough. With love from Scarborough. At least, again, how that brand came about was when I was working in retail. They were fresh on the market. They dropped this. They still have it, 3.5 gram Benny Bluntos.
I remember. I remember when that dropped. Funny enough, you know what I mean? Like, I remember, you know, I was there when the Benny Bluntos dropped. You know what I'm saying?
Let's
But
give me a story to fucking tell all the kid them. I literally, like again, I was purchasing, so I saw it on that Excel early release sheet. And that being said, again, the trend at that time in retail, especially maybe 2021, emergence of pre-rolls, right? Pre-rolls in that 3.5 gram model was the lick. And so for a blunt of that nature, exclusive patent like rights to kind of naturally derived terpenes for the 𝓟. It wasn't hemp. It was more to mimic a flower or the traditional backwoods there. So
and if you never tried a Benny, do we have any Benny Bluntos here?
Do we have the Bennies? We have the Fat Boy, which is still the same 𝓟.
Okay.
So if anything, we can pull it out.
Yeah.
In a
Should we
bit.
pull it out? Well, okay. Because now I'm thinking, okay, what's the difference between a blunt and a joint and da-da-da-da-da? Because, you know, it is very nuanced, people. But this is why I call everybody explorers, because we all explore the nuance, and it's all uncharted territory for the most part. So we're all exploring, and there's no limits. But anyways, we were talking about
working with the
blunts,
brand
yes.
to then working with retail,
Yeah.
different trends. But I know where we're going.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
okay.
We smoked
We
some
did
good
have a
stuff.
little bit of the loud plug before. You know, we had to
Sonic
sample it.
Yes, the pink cookies, baby. But pretty much with that format, it made sense. So I brought it in, or at least like obviously it sold. It was
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
And so within that, I developed a relationship with a company online at the time. Again, Instagram, via retail, via brands was a very interesting place for cannabis at 2020, 2021.
Yes.
Again, when I started, maybe it was earlier, but I really found like seeing how review culture was on Instagram,
Yeah.
how retailers were, you know, we would do these weekly drops online of what we got in store. People would come and do store reviews.
Yeah.
It was very, and maybe still is very social media pushed. But within that time, he was receiving, he meaning the loud plug,
Yeah.
Cyrus, the owner, was receiving a really, really great feedback on those Benny Blentos.
Yeah.
So I visited the facility, developed a good professional relationship. You
Yeah.
know, he put me on game.
Yeah.
He's new. I was putting him on game in
Yeah.
terms of me working retail. And then within that, I just kind of saw my peak in terms of, you know, you work retail, you're a bartender. I was now the purchasing manager, and it was like, okay, so what more or where else do I want to go within this? So to me, I ain't rich, so I wasn't opening a store, much less I don't think I could open a store yet. But I was like, that kind of to me was my end goal.
Yeah.
With where I was progressing in retail. So at least if that was my end goal, planned events. I was noticing a gap in terms of working where I was working.
Yep.
Niagara base, everything's in Toronto every time. So I
Yep.
was like, let's do some educational sampling events out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Again, loud plug,
Yep.
immediate first sponsor, via us building that relationship, and it just transitioned into event culture now. I see as a trend with retail cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very much as a brand, you get out there, you pay whatever lump sum. It can be hundreds, it can be tens of thousands.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
right,
it's
to be next to a pool that you can't even swim in.
What are you talking about? Who said that? Who said that?
I didn't say that.
Who said that? But again, it's like, what do brands value right now in terms of return on investment is the ongoing trend of how can you monetize that and see that? And I think events are very hard, especially with cannabis. You can't sell your product on site.
Yeah.
So it's like, how else can you really get your product out there? So it's through these retail focused events.
Yep. Yep.
Catering, sometimes sampling,
Yep.
brand recognition. So that to me, after like Instagram, really from the last year or so, it would turned into event culture within retail cannabis specifically
Yeah.
to really promote, push, and showcase products.
And is that event culture? Are you seeing that? As you're saying, it was kind of emerging, 2021, 2022. Out here in Toronto, the GTA area, do you see that is also happening in like Alberta, Saskatchewan? Are they also doing their own events similar to
Alberta? Like they recently loud plug out there for Expo in April, and they had their revised regulations in terms of sampling. So it was a huge I guess return on their sake in seeing kind of more people probably coming. It was maybe a bit more immersive experience because you can actually consume your product. As I think any expo for food, wine, sex expos, you're seeing product. You know, you're interacting with product. That being said, I found it really easy to navigate, you know, with my relationship with the brand, kind of how I can maybe utilize this kind of influx of wanting to do cannabis-centric events in more community and culture-focused ways, because getting our product out there and the exposure these events can bring you is one thing, but you know, we still have a lot of limitations on how we can really utilize product integration sometimes when it's not cannabis licensed people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of doing some fun ways
Yeah.
that really can kind of broaden our visibility, and I think that's kind of the beauty of this brand, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's good to see that these things are starting to grow and people are, you know, coming, I guess, into contact with it in a not so negative way, right? Because I feel like before there was such a stigma to weed, right? Like, well, there is, but now it's like, oh, well, you can go to an event and it's an educational event and you can learn and, you know, whereas before it's like, yo, meet me at this alley at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, that was the only way to learn.
At the studio.
The studio, whatever it may be, but, you know, things of that nature. But now it's like you're saying, it's opening up. People are going to these events. I've been to a few of them. They're really fun and they're really cool and you meet lots of interesting people there. So, you know, check out the events. They're going to be going out throughout the whole summer. Like, do you have any events coming up?
Yes, babes. By the time this probably drops, we already did Canadian Music Week. So Michelle, GM for Civilian, amazing kind of 2-store chain out in Toronto. She connected us with kind of that opportunity to be on a panel with Steve LaBelle. And he kind of has that executive music background to cannabis culture. So our panel is going to really, it's called Hitting the High Notes.
Okay.
And
wait, I have something for that.
oh God.
No.
Lord, let me hear this.
Say it again.
Hitting the high notes. This nigga. This guy put a laugh track on that.
That's the wrong one.
That was the mistake.
No, that's the one I wanted. Hitting the high notes. That's
that.
There
I was like, was that? Oh my God.
No, that was the wrong one. That was my bad. I'm still learning these buttons.
I was like, bro, okay.
Hitting the
savage.
high notes.
Yes. Panel with myself mediating alongside Steve LaBelle and Michelle Linares again, kind of discussing the intersectionality between music and weed. So that event is happening, and then we have kind of come July heavy summer opportunities. We'll be promoting our boat party.
Ooh-wee.
So
turn up.
Again, a RE.UP event. So RE.UP will be doing a day cruise island remix July 8th, 1 to 5 p.m. down at Cherry Street there in Toronto. It's definitely, though, this event, again, more culture focused. It's Caribbean centric music, Caribbean food, party vibes, samples, you know, aren't mandatory. Like it's the MO right now to me is brand recognition, building brand and community. So that's the 8th of July after party at Cabana. So it's gonna be a full stack day Saturday, and then Soak or Die. We'll be doing a cool little event before then. I always just say keep up to date on our socials. We have our website.
Where can the people follow you?
Where can they follow me? Raw. Hopefully I sell my account, but RE. I go by RE.Reels Review, REELS Review. The Loud Plug Official, the Loud Plug _official.
Nice.
And then Benny Blentos, Benny _Blentel. We'll have our website developed soon. Get independent. We're kind of out the mud. Sell the weed first, and kind of everything will fall into place.
Nice. Now, one thing that I also wanted to talk about and bring up is, you know, there's been big news in not big news. It might be.
Oh God!
I don't know.
Set up.
I don't know. But you know what has been going on, especially what you've been doing for Mississauga. You know what I mean? So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Transition. That got me on edge. I was like, what is he about to bring up? Because Dante, we could talk.
About news or about Mississauga?
We can just talk. You know how we talk.
Let's talk about Mississauga first.
Mississauga. I'm from Sauga. Port Credit High School, Queen Elizabeth Middle School, Kashmir Elementary, KC. I'm naming all my schools. Either way, Sauga's home for me, right? So especially after I graduated, I was commuting from there to college, Georgetown College, doing event planning. So it was really big. Right now, I'm working in events, hospitality, fundraisers with Fred Victor. So Mississauga to me always was my base. COVID obviously hit. A lot of things changed for all of us.
Yep.
Had to relocate. And that time relocating, as I mentioned, got into Career Foundation, landed a
Yep.
job out in Dunnville. So at least as I was progressing in my career, I got into retail, planned maybe my first event, going into my second event. I was like, okay, Niagara's cool. I'm liking the scene. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone's treated me amazing. But it isn't my home. Like for me, like I just wanted to be back in terms of something that just felt familiar.
Yeah.
Mississauga, Toronto are just like places. Brampton.
Yeah.
I laugh. Anytime people know when you say Brampton, Brampton.
You're so hesitant.
I love Brampton. So that being said, those areas are just very familiar. So I was like, boom, let me head back to work. Or find some work out there. So I was looking. And this was, again, maybe a year and a half into kind of really working retail out in Niagara. But I couldn't find no jobs. And then it's like, I was like, oh, yeah, like cities, there were cities that chose during legalization to opt out. Mississauga being one of them.
Yeah. Can you explain opting out versus opting?
Opting in is just yes or no.
Yes or no to what?
For having legal stores in my city,
Okay.
or I do not want to be for having legal stores in my city. So that's opting out. So their reasoning stems from, let's say, very religious background. It's a more community, family-oriented community. But honestly, with Mississauga now, you can't even push that really. But either way, stigma was a big thing.
Yep.
And they wanted to see how the market was going to play its course. And obviously Toronto at that time wasn't a good example. Saturation like crazy, but it was the nature.
Shout out Queen Street.
The high traffic areas really played that game. And like seeing those closures were all the more reason they were holding off from having legal stores. But I truly find like then, with time, this January 25th, 2023, like going into that year, was me just navigating. Okay, you can kind of see the trend now with stores. Like we've had that influx.
Yeah.
I think people unfortunately still are trying to compete in a market that's unfortunately against us, but I still find that it's a bit more leveled.
Yeah.
So shout out to Abigail Sampson, professor at Centennial College. I had the pleasure when I was in retail kind of listening to her with panel for something. But either way, came across her. She does cannabis regulations at Centennial, and she helped kind of navigate, if this is something you're interested in discussing and moving forward, boom, bam, bam.
Yeah.
This is kind of like she did kind of set me up, apply to speak, have a presentation, and this is kind of where you go from there. 25th of January came around. Had the pleasure of speaking along Cyrus, owner of the Loud Plug, who had some influence with kind of talking, lobbying Scarborough to opt in for cannabis stores as well. And Brad Stott, co-founder of Canadian Clinical Cannabinoids. He kind of offers that medicinal health Canada side. It was a great experience. Like, I always say you were there.
Yeah,
so
I was there.
Dante was there. Big up Dante, doing the behind the scenes as always. Midas touch.
Yeah.
But when we were there, no one's there, Dante.
I know.
Literally us and a charity.
Yeah.
And we had the 10-minute segment where, we were really talking, and there was dialogue. Like after we finished, questions galore.
Really?
Which is good because it was like a matter of like a couple of them, like Carolyn, like when they were there, were just going back and forth with us.
Yes,
they were just like kind of like, why this and this and that, and this stigma and this crap. And I was like,
if I wanted to close an illegal store,
I was like, either I roll my eyes now because we've opted in, and it's just like I knew, like not like I knew, but I'm like, guys, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And like in the end, with this type of city, like do it. For then that moment, they
in January
revisited it. People want to say whatever. Oh, did I do that? I don't know what I did. I just felt like it was the most perfect timing for myself. I knew and I know how I am with my events, how I move in the industry. When I set my mind to shit, I'm gonna do it.
Yes,
and
it gets done. I will confirm when she sets her mind on it gets done.
It's done. I'm like, because tunnel vision, and that's also can be the detriment to myself too. But like, if I see something, I just have to trust in myself, and I tell people that, bro. I'm like, just trust in yourself, full-fledged. Don't listen to nothing, because I was around people telling me Mississauga can't happen, that won't happen. This was like a year, and then now. So January happened. They chose to revisit it, and then came the 19th and there was, I think, what was the Wednesday before the 19th, the 12th or something. Either way, the 19th was the official vote. So, in that time, you were there again, Dante.
I was there.
Sai was there with me. We had Kevin,
yes,
who is the co-owner of the Niagara Herbalist, who spoke alongside us in regards to independence. Paco. Bare people.
Bare people. Like
this was crazy. I was just like, yo, like,
I know.
where you guys? Where were you at? But granted, I don't think I promoted enough until literally the week going into January. But then, the 19th and the week before, there was another cannabis conversation with the corporate boys. So they were a bit more kind of giving their spiel, and it was good. It gave them perspective, etc. But even that day too, media and then the counselors, it was very theatrical, I found. So it's like, I think in the end, Mississauga knew literally from January. I think with timing, it made sense for them to opt in. It was just like, let's play this game. Let's give citizens the opportunity to know that we're not just rushing into this. We want to show them that we're against it. Literally, Carolyn on the 19th. Look at Carolyn Parrish, how she was just like going back and forth. She wanted to push the motion to a later date. It was chaos. Religious people were there. Like, it was literally the most cinematic, amazing moment, because like, this to me was Mississauga, like, in itself. Like, it's and when I say religious people,
like, I got a park named after him on the same day.
A park on the same day of Canef. Like, it was madness. And like, the cannabis portion was long because this was an open call. Like, there were 20 like listed speakers, open Q&A. The religious background, like, I want to touch on that because like, that was a major pull. Like, what do I identify? I was baptized Christian, I went to a Christian school. Either way, clearly that doesn't influence my use of cannabis.
No.
Right? But that being said, it was definitely the MO for a lot of people that day. So it's still kind of that eye opener when I was sitting there for hours. When we're sitting there for hours,
I know.
Just hear the stigma. To feel the stigma. To hear some of the arguments. If cannabis is allowed, more carjackings in your ward. And the man said, what? Like, obviously, I'm paraphrasing in Jamaican Rihanna terms. But like, the counselor was like, shut up. No. So it's movies. It was a movie, guys. I say my life sometimes is a movie. Because truly, like, I myself, like Dante, you always tell me, live in the moment, Ree. Like, at my events, Ree, take this moment and just absorb your surroundings. And
literally look at it, because you can go through the whole day and not even see the whole day.
Not even like taking the day. And like, those meetings, like, I went to every meeting. So yes, I do have a very hard connection to Mississauga. Saga Stand Up was like an initiative I coined under RE.UP. We can talk about that after. But like, it was really an initiative that I was like, this is something that I try to set my efforts to. Within that, so many people in the industry followed suit or wanted to be a part of it, whatever it be. But it's just something where I knew from the conversation in January to up until this moment, they were gonna say yes. Whether or
it
not,
it kind of felt like it.
It felt like it. The fact that you wanted to revisit it. The fact that you had to call 2 meetings to just do an official thing. The media was there. The big guys in retail were doing all the media gambit on the news and all this shit. And it's like, they know it's happening. They have to play a part, for the community. Make sure, we're not just jumping into the devil's lettuce. these people. But yo, Mississauga is open.
Yeah.
Their stores, so I don't want to like name them, but
Are stores opening now?
stores are opening.
Really?
They're out
opening
there.
already?
I will say
Like-
Pops has been the first store, but
Okay.
Pops is a major chain. So people were sitting on property, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. Like these stores were
Oh,
like
people were just waiting.
people were waiting,
yeah.
and that's what it's like.
For 4 years, like, jeez.
Maybe not for 4 years. Maybe within the last year. Maybe they
Since
knew.
January.
I wish. Maybe who knew? Like I'm telling you, but they were waiting, and they have the money to sit and wait.
Yeah.
And that's a whole property game with any retail space. Once you kind of opt in, a lot of not residential business spaces where you're able to open. Also have the choice not to lease it out to you or give it to you. So that's kind of the game where you're fighting for space and property right now.
Yeah, I remember that was that was one of the sticking points that the counselors were like talking about. It was like, what if you're like in a mall and then the mall doesn't want to lease you the space? Then what? You know what I mean?
Find another space. Like you go somewhere else. But like again, that's the prejudice you have to deal with, unfortunately, with cannabis, because you do want to make sure it's not too accessible to so many other younger demographics. The school is a big thing. I understand that. But again, it's the nature.
Hey explorers, Dante here. Just wanted to remind you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below if you would like to support. Could support the Patreon for the low cost of a caramel ice cap from Tim Hortons. So if you like to support the message, the platform, the page, go ahead and click the description below. Back to the episode.
We outside, it's open.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna see the stores. A lot of people like that I'm friends with from Saga were like, oh, I thought cannabis was legal because the way stores were already there.
Yeah.
And not to say I go into those stores, but like it's not like they're not open. Like their door are like they're spread open. They're wide open. Don't think that means that's where that one works. That's where it works. That's where it's like, give me something. But they're very accessible. Yeah. So I was just like, let's kind of make that equal playing ground. Yeah. More jobs. Yeah. Have the opportunity now to potentially even want to work there. Yep. And I think it's just that education to kind of bridge that gap where a lot of people are curious. They may feel more comfortable with legal cannabis because it's
and I will say, like, once again, going into an illegal store is less inviting to be like, hey, tell me about this product. You know what
like, bro, come take your grab
and leave, bro. Like, don't talk to me at all.
No, I can't even put that out now. There's been some phenomenal people, but it's funny you say that because oddly enough, one of them in Saga that a lot of people know, 5 and 10 people, you know which one I'm talking about, where you literally, before you even turn off your car down, before you even put it in park, mans are already at your window. Grab a for $5. $5 grab
those guys.
And I'm like, this is what I wish. Hey, Johnny. I was gonna do loud plug exotic gas for like right at your door, like before you like pull it. I'm like thinking like if only legal cannabis you could do that. Yeah. Never can, but it's still just like how free will. Yeah. It was, and it is. Yeah. So just having the option to have a legal store there, and granted, we obviously can't grab off for $5, but like it's more the now nuanced experience where that older demographic, the again kind of younger crowd, and that middle age crowd, like a lot of people don't understand. Like for legal cannabis opened up, like just people now feeling comfortable. Hey, I never really smoked weed before, but I'll try a drink. Yeah. I never really smoked this before, but hey, they have a lotion, and we provide. When I say we, the people working in retail provide kind of now a crucial foundation in just bridging that understanding of cannabis. Yeah,
and that is another point. Like when you go into these stores, it's not just your average stereotypical like stoner pothead. It's like anybody's in there. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, I need to get this topical or whatever. It's not, so
it's range. And that's why, like, with Mississauga, again, like, I was living in that moment, really letting it settle in. Yeah. But, like, it's, to me, a lot of people are like, oh, you did this, or do you not feel like you're getting enough? I don't know what I feel in terms of other than my thing is like, I told you so. Yeah. It's like, it's more of a matter of, like, oh, it got done. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On to the next. And it's not like in something where it's like I'm not receiving it, but it's like maybe I can build more off of doing kind of the government or lobbying stuff on a larger scale. Who knows?
Yeah, who
but
knows?
it's just that mindset of really putting my mind to stuff and kind of understanding that, you know, with how we think, this industry thinks, how we all individually think, you really can get shit done.
Yeah,
So
you definitely can, and I've seen it with my own 3 eyes.
oh God, he's woke. He's woke. He gets it.
You can actually get stuff done if you actually do it. This is the thing I keep trying to tell these niggas.
Do shit. And
Do shit.
yeah,
Do something.
You have to do it. Like with the Instagram shit, with like just even the events. Like I was just like, okay, this is something I want to do. Just do it.
Yeah.
And like so many people sometimes will call me and be like, I don't know, I'm thinking of doing. I'm like, okay, you're thinking. Scratch that.
Yeah.
I want to do this event. What's my first couple of steps? It's like this thinking stage and perfection. Like, you know, people who know me, I have an issue with like trying to be a perfectionist. And I have a deep rooted issue and just like anything I do, events or anything, I crash hard because I'm thinking of so much shit, right? So it's like a matter of really just taking the A for effort almost. Like, oh, proof of concepts here.
Yeah.
I did this. And like whether it's to whatever I wanted it to be or it exceeded it, now I know for next time it's gonna be that much easier.
Yeah.
And that much better.
Yeah,
So.
and that is a good point. Like that thinking stage I almost feel like is like prolonged. You know what I mean? Like
when you're a procrastinator like me, I'm thinking for years. I'm thinking for years. And I'm like, no, guys, like, it's for a good reason. And this shit's already fucking out there. Someone else, like, that thinking stage is crucial.
It is.
It's good to do it with people you respect, like-minded people, but it's also, like, just start it. Like, registering my business was like, why am I just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
And then it just will fall into place. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Just do it.
Just say it.
And it will all fall into place. I wanted to actually bring in some of these products because you brought some samples. Let's bring some in if you don't mind, if you would like to talk about them. And then.
Am I like getting up?
No, I'm going to go grab them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you chill.
I'm like, do you need me to move? Because I'm comfortable. I am very comfortable. Thank you, babe. Let's see here.
So tell me about these products.
So I would say 𝓟, you know, our portfolio extended heavily on pre-rolls initially, but as like I said earlier, like pre-rolls, y'all are the market of legal cannabis right now. Efficiency, affordability, range. Also, you get a lot of stuff in pre-rolls that you can't sometimes get in flower.
Okay.
And then again, a lot of people who are smoking recreational weed have probably never smoked prior, so they don't know how to roll.
Yes. Yep.
So
I was one of those.
it's no judgment. Like,
yep.
Even if you're a good roller, or like for me, I roll, but I don't like how I roll my papers all the time. Like,
well, can I tell you a story real quick?
Oh my God.
Okay, so right on the day cannabis was legal, right? Because I didn't smoke before that, or I did, but not really. On the day it was legal, me and my brother, we went to a store, and they didn't even have pre-rolls, right?
It was just weed.
But they rolled it for us. Yeah. So it was like, oh, can we get like 3 joints of whatever? And then they would roll it. The thing is, the guy was so bad at rolling, not looking back at it, but you know.
People who don't roll, then they'll take it. And that's the thing, too. Like, there's this whole thing of, like, oh, my pre-roll burns like shit. Or it's, like, also, if you don't roll, then you also may not know how to smoke a joint properly. Like, it's a lot
talk
of,
about
like,
that.
ways.
Talk about smoke etiquette. Because
I'm learning every day.
I'm learning, too. We were at that one party, and then the dude was like, you got to hold it down and 2 puffs at a time, hold it up.
I know exactly who you're talking. Wasn't that my thing? Oh, God. And that's exactly who's been like, and people like that, they're the...
Can we shout him out, or is that...
Of course, the
Shout 'em out.
curious,
Yeah.
the curious
Shout 'em out.
OCS.
Yeah.
Josh, you know who you are. He goes by hashtag couture. Because again, like, you know, I call him like a weed geek. Like, and I mean, you know, that term can be sometimes negatively used, but I always kind of refer to like people who are really just wanting to always constantly educate themselves
Yeah.
on the plant.
Can I say, ever since that, I have been trying that more, like that technique.
Oh, yeah.
Like just hold
Just
it
hold
down.
it. But for what he was smoking specifically, they're doinks, and like I'm now like even learning like it's very kind of specific to
Yeah.
that etiquette as to a really enjoyable experience. But that being said, it comes down to like pre-rolls in the end. It's just that interaction of, you know, offering maybe a range.
Yep.
Just ensuring your product quality is obviously there. But
Yep.
I even think with the 𝓜 plugin, what we're trying to do is like these learn and burns, like really
Yeah.
just kind of do cool immersive ways of showing the product, like at our facility R&D room,
Yep.
research and development.
Yep.
So you're able to at least kind of test the product, like
Yeah.
why, like it's this whole thing of try before you buy, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, consumers can't always do that, but at least on the retail side,
Yes.
utilize those brand relationships and kind of doing your own research,
Mm-hmm.
right? So at least with like 𝓜 plug, our pre-rolls were always majority of our lineup.
Yep.
But what's in them is always kind of our core flower SKUs, I like to say. So
Okay.
Benny Bluntos are more of that heavier effect.
Yes.
It really wants to pay homage
Yeah,
to
you get a head
a
tump.
blunt,
Yeah.
a tumper.
Yeah.
That fat boy, the white bag there.
This is a fat boy?
Open her, like
Oh my
like,
goodness.
That is that's a tumper.
This is a tumper. We can smoke this afterwards?
I was like, are you smoking this in here? Let's go.
No.
It's a tumper. Smoked that definitely with a couple people. That is with the classic chamomile wrap. So that kind of chocolate,
Oh my goodness.
that big.
And keep
Big
in
one.
mind, I was saying the original, the Benny.
Oh, yeah.
The original Benny Bluntos that were like this big. Those would tump me. You saw me off shisha. What
This nigga was bleb off shisha, which is adorable. Don't worry. That's actually a very like it's tobacco.
Yeah.
But it's just funny.
But the Benny Bluntos were also thumping me. So to see.
No, I know. That's yeah. So it's 2 grams.
Oh my.
Of all Betty Bluntos consist of our venom OG, so it's a garlic breath flower.
Nice.
That's infused too with hash, bubble hash. So we have black cherry punch bubble hash on that.
Oh my goodness.
And again, for the blunt aspect, it was really the wrap that helps navigate a more exclusive and a bit more consistent burn compared to hemp and that wax finish that a lot of blunts on the market before us were doing, but we really came through with a more innovative.
Yeah,
And,
I like it, and it's once again, it's completely unique. I don't think
Unique,
I don't think there's any other products that have these specific blunt wraps, which I said they're really good. Like
it's like
they
really
burn
the
nice.
like the terpenes that
Yeah.
like naturally derived terpenes that we're really utilizing in
the
terms
wrap,
of
the
in the wrap.
terpene infused wrap.
That's why it's like it plays up on the experience, the whole nose, the taste,
Yeah.
to then the flour we use, the hash to also kind of add that
I'm afraid
flavor.
to smoke this thing. Like,
No, you're gonna do it. You're gonna enjoy it because the infused stuff now.
Yeah.
Another trend in the market. Pre-rolls, yes, but the infused pre-rolls,
infused pre-rolls.
lit.
Yeah, yep.
For those chronics, just anyone who really wants to get high, and now there are flavor boosters in a sense. You don't want your weed to taste like weed.
Yeah.
There's these hyper flavor, like the nose literally smells like candy. The taste,
Okay.
candy.
Nice.
So
yeah, I remember you had the one that was like Skittles or
it
whatever.
was at that New Year's thing,
Yeah.
and there was the very
Yeah,
Don't worry. I remember some things from that day. Don't worry.
You remember you don't remember. You remember New Year's Eve. You don't remember New Year's Day.
Oh, wow. Let's not expose me right now. I love ganja. Smoke weed is
Yes.
what that. The moral of that story is just smoke weed.
yes.
Just get high. Get high.
Smoke it and infused. What is this?
Infused
Fat boy infused
fat
blunt.
tea.
Holy.
And then like the same thing, the diamonds. Like all our infusions,
Oh,
like
that's
naturally
right. Yep.
derived, true to plant.
Yeah.
Infusions. We're not doing the distillates, and that whole thing just simply means just kind of fillers, oils that do come from cannabis, but isn't, let's say, 100% cannabis. So at least when you can do infused stuff, think of and listen for hash.
Yep.
Hash is always going to be very true to plant. And it's one of
Yes.
the more kind of truest form of cannabis,
Yep.
in a sense. So a lot of our stuff is infused with hash, bubble
Nice.
hash,
Yeah.
and then obviously diamonds we have there. And then our flower is this like Venom OG in that purple bag and
Yep.
exotic gas. Like those are our cores. Like
Yeah.
if you think of our pre-rolls, most likely
Mm-hmm.
between the two of them, they're in that
Yep.
pre-roll.
Yep.
Diamonds, exotic gas, pink cookies, that pink stink.
Yep. Yep.
Like I remember smoking that well before he even brought it in 3.5 grams.
Yep.
And I was like, this hit like the eye, this lucid, the taste was just kind of this fruit fuel, like consistency for me.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be smoking weed and I'm gonna be smoking something consistently long, enough for a long amount of time,
Yeah.
it has to always hit me.
Yeah.
Always hit me. I don't want it to ever. I don't want to build a tolerance.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like, and you'll see, like, you know, like you're saying earlier, each product is different. So, like, you'll have some product, it might even be the same strain,
Yeah.
but it's not it's not grown by the same brand. So they don't even smoke the same.
No.
You know, and that's part of the thing. It's like, oh, I like for me, as a newer person in legal cannabis space, it's like when the Pink Kush by Top Leaf was a thing versus the Pure Sunfire. Those to me are two different.
Pure Sunfire. I love you, Pure Sunfarm.
Is that Pure Sun Farm? Is that it's not
Don't give
Sunfire?
them clout with Sunfire. That sounds like that's a way better name actually. Pure Sunfire, but it's Pure Sun
Farm.
Farm.
Okay.
But either way,
well, the thing is,
you got
my
it
point
right.
was is that it wasn't fire.
no, and that's the issue. And I think, but the funny thing is that Pink Kush, that name in itself, that was a trend in cannabis for a
That
hot
was,
lick.
but that was because of Top Leaf, right? Because they can't. Maybe I don't know, but
No. Like, what did you feel like?
well, I only knew about the Pink Kush because of Top Leaf, and that was one of those ones where it was like consistent. It was like anytime I got it, it was like, okay,
That's
this is
what
gonna
would
hit.
you.
You know what I mean?
And then you were like, oh, Pink Kush from Pure Sun Farms. Let me try that. And you're
Yeah.
like, whoa. What is?
Yeah.
So no, and that's the issue where, you know, granted the growers, it's a big thing on knowing where your shit's grown from. But again, not everyone wants to kind of take that initiative, and why we, maybe as adamant consumers, buyers, even budtenders, just always kind of lead into like where it comes from. Like
Yeah.
that can always almost help your buy and kind of resonate a bit more with people. But some people don't care about the politics of weed. Like to me, Pink Kush, I always knew about Pink Kush through Pure Sun Farms first, because when I was buying at stores, like if like you didn't have Pink Kush on your menu, people would like burn your store down. Like it's like they're like adamant, and these are people I smoke forever, and I've smoked 400 years now, and it's like, let me get Pink Kush, and I'm like, okay, let me try this,
yeah, yeah,
and I'll reserve my thoughts, but I'm not smoking Pink Kush
Yeah.
all the time, but it has. Or maybe it had a grip hold on the market for a good
Yeah.
time, and it's that namesake. It was
Yeah.
Pink Kushes,
Yep.
Pink Cookies, like they are
Pink.
they're
Yeah.
namesake strains, and
yeah.
it's really hard to emulate that, especially with maybe the regulations around getting your cuts and where you're sourcing your all this shit. But
Yeah.
I think in the end, it's really just again taking your due diligence and just talking to your bud tender, letting people know and giving them options.
And like we're saying, try like because there's so much to try out there. You know, we got one of these, we got this. Like you can try all of them and get different perspectives and figure out what you like. Because like I was saying, there's two Pink Kushes, but you have to try both of them to figure out
Exactly.
which one you like. You
And
know?
that's why, like, with at least these events and what I was trying to curate, it was like just through trying and trying before you're buying. Like, you know, I really wanted like managers, bud tenders, us who are really like the final person with the product to have the option to pay a certain lump sum to be able to sample, right? With a lot of these cannabis events right now, they can be very beneficial for just navigating your purchasing in stores, because at least you're not maybe spending something on something you don't like. But also, we always, you know, there's this great debate, like how much are you shopping for your store and consumers, to how much are you shopping by what you know and trust. And it's like, how do you like qualify that
Yeah.
in terms of how to shop. And, you know, some people are like 50-50. Is it 60-40 to the consumers? Or is it just like really just understanding the market and providing range, you know? Like
Yeah.
I always say, like, I like to shop by category. So I like to get almost something from each category sometimes. Cause
How
like,
what do you mean by category?
like I would maybe grab 3.5 gram flour, or maybe a
Okay.
14 gram.
Okay.
Cause I know I'm going to have my blunts and
Yeah.
my joints.
Yeah.
And then maybe with the flour, I need a vape.
Yeah.
I can't smoke everywhere indoors,
Yeah.
and you can't vape everywhere indoors.
No.
Awkward.
Non-combustion, no combustion
no
allowed
combustion,
indoors.
vapor only. But the vape also is just that efficiency.
Yep.
Not too. It doesn't smell as much. And you know, I may get a nice little 1 gram vape. And then sometimes I'm just like, okay, I like my drinks. I come from
Yep.
the alcohol background, so
Yep.
sometimes I like to make a little mocktail at home,
Mhm.
grab a couple of drinks. The edible is cool, but I rather kind of get a mix and match, and even concentrates.
Yep.
Get a little 1 or 2 grammars of something, but it's, to me, like, maybe because I come from purchasing,
Okay.
I come from working in retail.
Yeah.
I'm just very mindful of, like, okay, I shop by what does a store offer in the categories I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
yeah.
always love range.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And, you know, unfortunately, you can't always cater to that. But I always
No.
say, for people shopping, look for
Yeah.
range.
Look for range.
Look for range. And that means just range in product. If you see a Pink Kush,
Yeah.
look at if they have 1 or 2. Are they only catering to Pure Sunfire? Or are they catering?
Wow.
Because, no, I love that you said
I
that.
feel like I'm gonna go to like some next event, so I was gonna walk up to me. Yo, how about that Pure Sunfire?
Like, there's this funny thing going around right now, because a major company regarded to, like, using their product as it either, like, he said boof, like, and usually boof can attribute to
Like bad quality.
and like he was kind of using it in a way that was positive,
Wait. Who was it? An executive?
like
or?
an executive person
Oh,
for the
okay.
company.
Well, that makes
Or
sense.
like the
Yo,
person that
fam,
was
this is move, dog.
it was just so interesting. I would send you the video, but it's just like
Can I play that?
you get that clip, and that would be jokes. Like that clip,
Send-
and
send-
if you were to play
yeah,
that would be
send me that.
hilarious. Or even like the let me try the boat. When like I was talking about my boat, I wish you could have just dropped that. But it's just like, again, knowing and seeing and understanding the market will come with time.
Yeah.
And I always say, you can work in weed, you can work in retail, you can be like yourself, media background, work going to the event.
Yeah.
It's just really just understanding how nuanced this industry is.
Yeah.
And then to extent how much involvement you want to be within that. Like, do you care?
Yeah.
Are you just trying to smoke weed?
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of know where you're getting your weed from?
Mm-hmm.
It's up to what floats your boat.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Boat party July 8th. I can't. I'm like, picture. It's gonna be mad. It's gonna be RE.UP, baby. Like RE.UP,
Yeah.
honestly, was my saving grace coming out of retail, because
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was gonna do.
But that is a good point. And, you know, one thing, especially, we kind of said we would talk about social media.
Oh yeah,
but,
we can play.
But, you know, building your personal brand, right? Like you're saying, that really helped you when you left your retail space, because you take your personal brand wherever you go.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's hard, like, for working in retail. Some stores won't resonate with that, and they don't want that, because they're like, you're taking away from my store.
Oh, I think someone's here. Hold on.
This is amazing.
Yeah, no, this is what I want, too. I want people to be coming in.
Really? Hi, we're talking about weed.
But this is why. Okay, because I've been getting into feng shui and the flow of energy.
Okay.
I think it's
Olivia?
Yeah. But anyway, so the flow of energy, right? You come through this wall
Okay.
and you literally walk
To
through,
the
right?
yeah.
So that's where the energy's going.
Ah.
So one of the things I like about doing my podcast right in the middle of this flow of energy is that people literally walk through it, and it makes it more of a dynamic scene.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like some of the episodes I do them in the back room, and you saw where all of Vaughn's stuff is, right? So sometimes I'll be using that as a backdrop, and then Vaughn will have to come in and be like, "Oh, I need to grab something." So he's just in the background, like rummaging for some equipment and stuff like that. So
No, Dante, you always put me on a lot of things beyond being present in the reality of life. It's beyond that.
Yeah, there's a
lot
lot
that plays
going
with
on.
them. Energy.
But so social media, like
social media.
yeah,
Yeah.
and,
so,
and your brand, like
so honestly, yeah, I was working retail again at that time. Like, guys, we have to understand the industry
also,
was new.
But also one of the things about your brand, I think that sets you apart from the other brands is like you were very education based, right? And you had my favorite reviews on cannabis space. Yeah, because yours were very technical, and you were talking about, all the things, and it was about the education part of it. Yeah, you could. There you go. But you know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay, this is the terpenes, which I didn't even know what a terpene was, and you'd be like, okay, and it's squishy and it's sticky, and like I like you're like, oh, listen to this break, guys.
Like buddy shot.
Yeah, exactly. The pour and all, but I think that also helped with your personal brand. You know what I mean? Because no one else even does that still.
Well, like, honestly, people review. So, to me, and it's amazing to hear that, and I appreciate you, Dante. I've been trying to learn how to take compliments. Thank you, Dante, for the kind words. Yeah, but I do receive, and I always, like, if it's you or some people sometimes where we've come across each other via Instagram, via our pages, when they say stuff in regards to my page, like that, I'm like, damn, really? Because, again, I'm very mindful in understanding that I came into cannabis legally. So there is a lot that comes before me, so to say, right?
Yes.
And within that comes with a lot of knowledge, a bit more understanding, especially with the growing techniques, and all the people who are doing the growing right now are truly people prior sometimes too.
Yep.
That being said, is why a lot of people who were reviewing, or I would see reviewing, I was like, damn, like my reviews are literally just me cracking open weed. I bought it at work, like a weed diary, being mindful, just trying to provide at least some insight or some notes on what I tried, so I can remember.
Exactly.
So for you and other people, myself included, it's again, like, I wouldn't say I'm a professional at it, but it was just more of a matter of like that dialogue, seeing the product. Again, we can't see the product really, or like the actual flower before you buy it. Yeah. So it's just giving that range and unboxing, like anything. Look at fucking makeup tutorials and like and food palettes. Like, it's no different. Unfortunately, we are buying packaging before product, but for some people, of course, but it's still the game of that dialogue, that transparency. Let's just go on that journey. So that was the retail. Yeah. Posting aggressively, through that met Cyrus again, and through that I built a network, and I realized there was some gaps with brands, maybe some gaps in my industry or my community where I was working, where it's like, maybe we can highlight and learn a bit more from this brand if they're willing to get a bit more coverage from 100+ people instead of going to every individual store in a couple of days span. So RE.UP really just stemmed from wanting to connect community and education with cannabis. And it's now, I think, just kind of with Saga Stand Up and just things going forward is just really an organization that is really a collective trying to build and integrate cannabis in a lot of different facets. Nice. So it's a good way, at least for me, to understand I have something. Like, I finally kind of like made it official with, should I? CRA. Either way, you have my contact. CRA is like, it has my business number. Okay. I'm all official. It's officially a business, and taking that. Thank you. Taking that liberty just
big ups to make it an official.
Official, business. Like to me, it's like I'm not trying to mimic or be anyone. Like any of the other brands are on that level, but it's just to kind of get a little leveling, like just to be able to say, like, if we do business, like, it's still a matter of no difference than anyone else say you work with. It's just trying to find cannabis entrepreneurship right now in a new industry. Is kind of very interesting. So it's just taking what I feel is right, doing it with good intent, and just making sure I don't fuck up my taxes.
I know, right? I was going to yell for a little bit, hey, we need help, but she's busy. But no, that's, and like you're saying, that's such a good point that now you actually have something. You have your business number is fully registered for you. And, that, once again, is the importance of a personal brand. Like, that is something that
what are we doing this for? Like, I'm doing this for the community. But within the community, I think what scares me and coming, like, how, like, Dante, I'm a mule. Like, I'm a workhorse. Like, my ethic, like, I move different. And that's why it's like, even
that's
when
that Jamaican.
Jamaican mentality. If it's good or bad, is it trauma? I don't know. Another podcast.
It's just Jamaican. What's the difference?
Jamaican, bro. And like when I work, like I work different, and that's why I think like retail, I grinded and maybe got places. I always was the youngest in my position, so it also didn't like, whatever. But either way, within that, I was just like, listen, like I don't mind with someone like Cyrus from the Wild Plug. I was essentially like, I don't care if you pay me or not. I'm going to support you. Yeah. I'm going to push forward people that I trust and I support. So it's just a mentality of like understanding like sometimes you got to put in the work before you see that immediate return. Yeah. And that's where it's like I felt like I was doing that in retail. I was doing that for a lot of other people but myself. Yeah. And I exclude Cyrus from that because if anything, he pushes me to make re-up events. He wants to invest in re-up events. He wants me to be in a position with his brand where, I'm like financially supported, but it's also that I feel like included and involved. So it's very amazing to see where you can kind of find people in legal cannabis through Instagram. Yeah, through it's crazy. These platforms.
Through connecting with people and making human connections. Even though it is on social media, it is more about the human connection.
It's always that, and that's the thing. I don't think, like Cyrus and I always joke, he's like, if I'm not doing business or doing stuff with you, like if we can't have a conversation, let's talk first. Yeah. Like I think there's this non-human aspect right now where it's just so transactional. Everything's just like, give me money and I'll do this. Yeah. And it's like, okay, or how do we kind of forge a relationship where we can do this for a longer period of time? Yeah. Like working with Michelle from Civilian, like that.
Big Meech.
Big Meech.
Can I call her that?
Honestly, is there a Big Meech? Is there? I feel
there's
like
a Big Meech.
Meech. That's why.
Big Meech is different.
Big Meech, Big Boss Energy, IG is Meech, musician. Yeah. She's just a gangster, right? So to me, it's just navigating relationships that again, she's been supporting Cyrus from time. She's plugged in cannabis, legacy to legal, and as a woman in this industry, as a Black woman in this industry, it's like, bro, like how do we progress ourselves with the brands we work with? Because she put me on like intellectual property, what we offer as bud tenders, as individuals when we're kind of creating, we're in these cannabis spaces, like a lot of these ideas are ours. And it's like you can't unfortunately maybe copyright it sometimes, and I see a lot of people they get bitter and mad because a lot of people run with stuff that they rightfully so maybe created. Yeah, I've seen it with my own eyes, myself included. Yep. So it's just almost the name of the game. And why I've seen it. People be stealing my videos. I'm not calling them out, but it's like we see it. Any industry is like that, and it's so sad, but it's flattering. Yeah, it is. No, don't give me credit. I love watching you. No,
I do take it as flattery because it's like that is what they want to do. You know what I mean? It's like if I edit a video or I do a reel or whatever, and then people copy my reel shot for shot, it's like, oh well, because those are the shots that they want to use, but they just didn't go shoot them.
It's a matter of like just trust in what you're doing. And I think again with who you're doing it with, and all the noise that's kind of beyond you and beyond what you're kind of trying to achieve. It's just the nature of being in a shared space with anyone, anything, any industry. Not everyone's going to get along. Not everyone's going to like what we're doing or what you're doing or whatever it be. It's just how you create good and inclusive spaces, I think. You know, inclusivity is a big thing right now where it's like when you come to an event, even if you're not big on Caribbean music, even if you're not big on, cannabis in general, you're leaving with a good experience. And I think with RE.UP, developing my platform online and kind of just navigating, not doing reviews as much now and kind of really making it a business organization, so to say, how I can kind of develop and grow from that.
Nice. We just did an hour and 7 minutes.
Let's go.
How was that?
That's it went by. Yeah. It's definitely a good conversation. Nice. I'm thinking anything I can say to kind of spice it up. No, I'm joking. I was like, let's now talk about Taiwan. I don't know, like some controversial political
don't
news.
Even mention
the
that.
Wildfires.
Stop.
No controversy. No, let's just talk about controversial topics. Now, if you really want to know how Dante and I talk, this is when it's going to get real.
Tune in to the Patreon where it's exclusive. Yeah, I've had a Patreon this whole time. A lot
Well,
of people don't know.
$5?
You can subscribe to the Patreon for the low cost
Of $1.
of a caramel ice cap from Tim Hortons.
Oh, this nigga.
That's all it
what
costs.
a whore for caramel.
No, that's just the price.
Oh, how much is it?
That's how much it costs.
I don't even know how much that is, Dante.
How much a caramel ice cap
Medium
costs.
or small?
With inflation, it's probably medium.
Oh my God. So $5.
$4.20.
Oh,
So
that's
go ahead.
birthday too.
Yeah, so go check out the Patreon where we could go talk some more controversial stuff. But usually at the end of these podcasts, I like to end with 2 things that we're grateful for. So what are 2 things that you're...
You should have told me that at the beginning so I could have thought.
No,
No,
you,
joking.
but you know, like what are just... it could be anything. It doesn't
2
have to
things
be...
I'm grateful for.
Just 2 things you're grateful for.
2 things I'm grateful for. I have to truly, and I know this might sound so cliche, just right now being in some form of health.
Ooh.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I it's interesting for me now as I get older.
Yeah.
I get wiser. But I think,
get older.
you know. It's just really put things in perspective of like, if I am trying to do anything, I have to make sure I'm good.
Yep.
And that comes, like, when I say health, it comes from sleeping, it comes from rest, it comes from activity, it comes from just doing nothing sometimes. Really just making sure I'm checking in with myself.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful right now with my health.
Nice.
And that balance I've been trying to provide for myself. And then a second thing I would be grateful for right now are just, like, I guess my opportunities. Like, every...
Fire.
Fire.
No, because these are fire. Okay, keep going. Sorry, keep going.
Okay. My opportunities, because I can, like, really say, despite how my career might be behind the scenes, front of, however it looks optic-wise, I at least can say from everything I've done so far, from starting in legal cannabis up until now, I've progressed to some extent in my eyes,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I think it's just the stepping stones of, like, that resume building from, like, point A to kind of, like, now point, maybe let's say J. I don't know. We're not maybe at Z yet, but
point TLP.
I hate you. I can point TLP. It really is a good uptick I found. And I think those small wins, being present in those moments, understanding there's a lot of things I haven't gotten.
Yeah.
Those missed opportunities too, right? So just the opportunities that come from good or bad, doors closed or open.
Yeah.
I'm just very confidently lost and happily pleased with kind of where it's transcended since I've been in legal weed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. I gotta big you up for that one. For me, I would say one thing that I'm grateful for is definitely this cannabis community, which I've somehow stumbled into. You know, I'm grateful for all the opportunities that come just from the cannabis community, the people
Second
like
that.
you and
Community.
all that stuff.
Yeah, I should have
know.
said that. Fuck. No. But I'm in the community, I swear. No, that's
but like
solid.
I'm super grateful for that because, you know, if it wasn't for the cannabis community, I don't even know where I would be.
Bruh.
You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
We met through weed. Yeah, we really did.
And another thing I would say that I'm grateful for is momentum.
Ooh, I kind of like, or you like that, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons is that, like you're saying, a lot of people, they get to the thinking stage, but then they never start to push the boulder.
Yeah.
Right? But one thing that I'm grateful for is, like, even if I push the boulder slightly,
Okay, yeah.
I'm grateful for that movement because, like, it's actually easier to keep pushing it once it's already moving than it is to have it stop.
That jump start
and then
every
try and
time,
push
yeah.
it again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful for that, you know, just momentum and, like,
Oh,
aspects
moving.
of life of, like, just moving forward, like you're saying, from opportunity to this,
Yeah.
You know, just momentum.
And that momentum comes with even sometimes those stops. But
Yep.
understanding, like, even if you make that stop or if you come to that, that probably is going to be the last one for you to go. And it's just continuously movement onwards, upwards. So I like that momentum. That's a good one, Dante.
And
Explorer.
yeah, so where can the people find you?
Instagram, RE.UP review. Again, cannabis and Instagram is interesting, as we were talking about. Some new changes are in place, but check me out there, re.reels, REELS review. Shoot me an email. You can find my email there as well. The Loud Plug Official, as I mentioned, I'll be doing work with them. Again, guys, July 8th, we got that boat party. We there on road. Who's going to drive the boat? You have to get that.
I don't
Let me
have
drive
that
the
one.
boat.
I don't have that one.
So boat party, July 8th. Come out and you'll get all details on that. So, yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Thank you, Dante.
And once again, guys, make sure you guys check out the Instagram. Follow me at CHEZDANTE.
Che.
Yeah, it's
Not
Shay.
Chez.
People think my name is Chez for some reason. I mean, I get it now, but like, I thought it was obvious. I thought it was obviously Chez Dante, but I guess not everyone's bilingual. My bad.
Are you dumb or are you stupid?
But yeah, make sure you guys follow. Yeah, let me go ahead and play the outro music.
Hey. Just.
What's up, explorers? Hope you enjoyed the episode. Just a reminder, once again, if you haven't already, go ahead and check the link in the description below to join our Patreon. There you'll find exclusive behind-the-scenes content that's not for the YouTube, just for the Patreon, just for those that want to go that next step further and support the page. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, leave a comment. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would like to see, if you have any topics. But, you know, topics is for the Patreon members only. So go ahead and check out the Patreon. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Later. Peace.
Further.
I'm sorry?
You said my skills extend farther than the basketball court. Farther relates to distance. Further is a definition of degree. You should have said further.